o'clock. We get to stand up again and do the Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome, everybody. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
God bless us.
Yes, indeed.
That was me, I know that. Better than I deserve.
Okay, we have the approval of the agenda. Commissioner Jackson, do you have anything you want to add or subtract, or is everything okay?
I have nothing to add or subtract. Everything's fine. So I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Okay, I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, so moved. Now we're to public comment. If you would, please keep it to 3 minutes. And just so that you know, Pat, you're on schedule, and Barry, you're on schedule too, later. Anybody for public comment?
Ken Van Buskirk has his hand up.
Oh, thank you, Ken. Ken, go ahead.
Asked to unmute.
I think you're muted.
There we go.
Folks hear me?
Yes, now we do.
Thank you. The sound at this end is kind of poor, but I'll give it a shot here. Ken Van Buskirk, I live in Belfair. I have a couple follow-up comments from back in January. Jeff Carey and myself had asked that some of the meeting minutes be amended, and I checked today and those meeting minutes have not been amended yet, so that needs to be followed up on. A friendly amendment when you approve the minutes of tonight of last month's meeting. I asked that you folks consider surplusing not only the kayak park, but also Sweetwater, and that didn't get reflected in the minutes that before you tonight. I have a couple of questions, food for thought, no answer required. Last month, I had asked when you were planning to search for filling the executive director's position, and it's almost spring. I hope you're working along those lines somehow. Last month, Mr. Capola also emailed all of you that, and he suggested that you consider divesting yourself of the Sweetwater. And I hope that you're planning to discuss this in an open public meeting as well. It's been a year since I brought the hazard trees to your attention on Sweetwater, and I see you have a new business item tonight regarding a disc park. And reading in the executive director's report, I just thought I'd mention that there are more trees than what the arborist identified there, and I hope that you allow some questions of the presenter tonight. I've also read RCW 5308-260 that Jeff Carey provided you last meeting, and I agree the port's is not the right entity to be in the parks business. I think you folks should have a meeting with WSDOT regarding Highway 3 widening and that restoration of Sweetwater Creek. And I would again recommend that you surplus Sweetwater to either Mason County, WSDOT, or WDFW. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make a couple comments?
We'll wait.
Okay, just fine.
Okay, after other public comment. Anybody else? No? Okay, Larry, go ahead.
Okay, the minutes were corrected. I don't believe they've been posted on the website, so I'll see to
Make
that.
sure. Okay.
And I spoke with Mr. With Mr. Van Buskirk via email a couple of times over the weekend, and when he brought up the question about divesting ourselves of Sweetwater Park, what I said to you all in that email was, did you want to own this in perpetuity or not? Not that we should divest it or not, just something for you to think about. And he seems to think we said something else here. But I just want to clarify what was said.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else for public comment? No? Okay, seeing none, let's go to consent agenda items, which is the approval of the regular meeting minutes for February 6th. Do you have any corrections, or do you have a motion to accept?
Let me just double check here, because I did see something that, I did see that there was Mr. Van Busker made, his comments were to surplus the kayak park. I don't see anything about Sweetwater Park, which the executive director said that those were going to be changed. So with the exception of changing the surplus recommendation from Ms. Van Busker, I would approve the meeting minutes from February 6, 2003.
Okay. I'll second that. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Now to action items. Would you like to read the action items, Ted?
Yes, I'll make a motion to approve payment A, general fund vouchers 23020201 to 2302302035 for $19,233.72. Approval of payment vouchers B for $23,294.08. Payment of water fund vouchers for $1,614.88. And I make a motion to approve action item D, that these could be used as digital signatures.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Now to commissioner reports. Ted?
I attended the general meeting and the Peninsula Regional Transportation Organization meeting. Those were the two meetings I attended.
Okay. I think I already reported on the February 2nd legislative day at Olympia for the Port Day, and then of course the regular meeting on the 6th, and then the Economic Development Council, and that was on the 9th. Oh, yeah, on the 9th. And that was it for me. Next is our security officer's report. Travis?
I didn't make a comment.
That's John.
Well, good. Welcome, John.
Oh, I guess I'll wait.
No, that's all right.
Oh.
You're good.
Okay, I made it. I had to wrap up something pretty significant, but thank you. Sorry for the
I'll
little
let
party.
John do what he needed to do.
No, oh, John, actually, sure, Travis. John, we're on commissioner reports. Would you like to share anything?
All I have is I made a regular meeting in February, so that's all I got to report at this meeting.
Okay, thank you, John. Okay, Travis, thank you. That was kind.
Travis Merrill, Port Allyn Security. If you've read the report, I had an incident with a gentleman with a white Tesla down at the kayak park. I usually drive by real slow when I go by at night. If there's nobody there, then I don't really go in there, but there was a car parked there, so I came back around and pulled in and got jockeyed around so I could get out and start, announcing myself, and shine my flashlight in the car, and nobody in the car. So I started, yelling Port Security, Port of Allyn Security, and then two large German Shepherds started barking very, very loudly and came charging up the actual ramp. And I just jumped back in my car because they were ready to eat. And got my window down, and the owner came charging up and started to tell me that his dogs were only protecting him. And I was like, sir, I told you I was Port Allyn Security. I'm just trying to tell you that you're not supposed to be here at night. The park's technically closed at night. And not to mention the fact that you can't have your dogs off leash here, especially ones that are aggressive. And he basically told me where to go. So let him know that I didn't know who he was, because that's what he told me. Do you know who I am? And I was like, well, I'm going to know at this point. And a lot of stuff about tax dollars and stuff. But either way, if we run into the gentleman again and there's an issue, then I would recommend further action, but see
Travis,
if you can cool off on this point.
I read your report. When anybody starts off, do you know who I am?
Oh, I know.
I don't care. So,
I actually made a comment that,
so
well,
why don't you tell us who he is?
we can find out. I have his information, his vehicle license plate number, and I did find out that during the snowstorm he parks right outside of Homestead Drive, that one road that goes right up there. So he may live up there.
That's something that really bothers me.
Oh, it bothers me too. I mean,
So-
there was considerable discussions at home about it and a lot of nerves.
I know. I believe me, I know.
So, yeah, I had to remind him that his tax dollars weren't paying for the port unless he had cut down some timber this year.
Thank you for that.
And then today, Larry and I discussed the issue of the growing number of boats outside of the North Shore. Right now, we have 4 of them in the cove. 2 of them had previously parked and paid at the dock, and then waited for the weather to get better and have just parked their boats on anchor. And 2 of these boats are not well kept. They're not, I would say that they're canal worthy, but that's it. You wouldn't take it anywhere else. In fact, one of them actually had barnacles growing around the prop so much on their kicker motor for the sailboat that it was obviously seized. So came up with an idea of getting a quality construction grade laser rangefinder, so that we can find out if they're within that 100 feet that we can charge them. And we can easily get their information from their boat numbers, and I will just check the boats daily and document that, and we'll start sending them bills.
Are they using existing boat buoys?
No, they're not. They're
So
anchored.
they're dropping?
They're dropping all anchors, correct?
Okay, so you have to have a permit to do that. So whenever you establish your own moorage, you have to have a state permit to do that.
Correct.
So-
Well, one of those boats has been there for 7 years.
Oh, my goodness.
And that's just one of them. The other one
I'm
has
just
been
trying
there
to
for
think of it
about
as
2,
my time.
and the other ones are kind of recent, and one of the owners of one of those boats is paying for moorage with another boat right now. So that's just a little bit of backstory, but this is the only thing I can think of to either get them to move along or we start collecting money.
Well, also when when their anchors and everything start dragging, they're ripping up eelgrass and everything else that are Dungeness crab.
oh yeah.
Need to do. So I know you know that, but
Yeah.
that's some of the stuff we need to stop. And
Yeah.
So, okay.
So we will be moving forward with this and see if we can get some movement out of it.
You know, the Golf rangefinders are pretty good.
Yeah, I went with a construction one with a green laser so that I can do it at night. And it's got a 165-foot range. We're only working in the 100-foot range anyway.
Okay.
And then it also lets me send that information straight to my phone.
Cool.
So,
Great.
Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks.
Travis.
Thank you.
Okay, next executive director's report. Larry.
All right, financial issues. Revenues continue to perform as expected for this time of year in this economy. Cash flow is tight. But we can begin paying back everything we borrowed after we get the April tax receipts. On the positive side, we start to get gazebo reservation inquiries, and we booked 2 of them this week, which is earlier than usual. Water system issues, we're not able to come to an agreement with Jeff and Debbie on the final terms of the purchase and sale agreement in time, and have missed the deadline to submit for the loan to purchase their system, but Jeff and I are still talking. Location of the new well and booster pump is the main issue holding this project up at this point. We've looked at the feasibility of locating both the new well and booster pump on the back side of the water storage tank, but it's going to require building an ecology block wall and a fair amount of dirt work, which will increase the cost by about $50,000, as well as make it somewhat difficult to get a drilling rig in there. The other alternative is to buy additional property adjacent to it, but will need easements for the 100-foot sanitary area surrounding the well, depending on where that property is. However, there is a third option that we're exploring. That would be to use the grant money to acquire Jeff's well and the 8 lots for a sanitary area around it. Jeff's well is capable of handling our needs for now and several years into the future. If we can get Commerce and Ecology to buy off on this, all we need to do is get a cultural resources survey completed on the property and we can move forward. I should have an answer from Commerce tomorrow. Talked to her today. That cost is also reimbursable for the cultural resources survey out of the grant. I've emailed both Commerce and Ecology, waiting on their response. But like I said, I talked to Commerce late today. Until then, we're in a holding pattern. On the issue of excise tax for water usage that we tabled last month, we contacted the Department of Revenue, and whoever we spoke with didn't know the answer and said they'd get back to us. 2 follow-up calls have had the same result. Contacted Belfair Water and Manchester Water, and both said they don't charge this, but Belfair does have some kind of a utility tax, but they didn't know for certain what it was for exactly or who collected it from them. So until we hear back from the Department of Revenue, I think we should just leave this tabled. On a positive note, the builder we've been working with that fell behind on payment of his connection fees, we did collect $37,500 in overdue fees and interest last week and are scheduled to collect more this week, and he's provided us with a schedule to clear the balance by the end of this month. Also, the procedure for collecting these has been changed. Counties changed the process for issuing water availability letters required for building permits. We used to issue them, and now the county is insisting that our water system manager do that, and that's Northwest Water. So Northwest Water is issuing those letters, and they're insisting on payment to us before the letter will be released.
Really?
Yeah. Damaged dock issues. As you're aware, Hood Canal Marina dock was severely damaged during the king tides, the week between Christmas and New Year's. The contractor was out there last week and completed the work. Our insurer, Endura, sent us a check for $33,200 to pay the contractor. However, they did discover some additional damage, which will add about $5,000 to the cost. I notified Endurance, and either way, our deductible is $1,000. In the meantime, we had closed off the dock with a lock gate and had given keys to the 3 boat owners moored there, but everything is open again now. There's a small item that needed to be repaired also. They asked Don about fixing it instead of bringing it to my attention, and he gave them the go-ahead, believing it would be a minor cost. Turns out they replaced some additional rotten wood without talking to anyone and want to bill us $2,600. We don't have a resolution to that yet. Allyn Pier replacement project. As you know, we have a major problem with the pier in Allyn. During one of the king tides, one of the pilings broke loose from the alcove on the pier and floated away, causing the entire alcove section to sag. I had Don close that section off to the public until we can find a solution. We do have a couple of options. One is to replace the entire pier with a completely new structure. The other is to sleeve the existing pilings with concrete or steel, which effectively gets the creosote out of the water. However, we'll have to drive new pilings for the ones that are missing. We're looking into the feasibility and useful life of both versus cost. In the meantime, contractors that did the repair on the North Shore dock are going to give us a bid on sleeving the pilings. Depending on what that cost is, and if it falls under the $500,000 we're looking for in this year's budget for planning and design, our lobbyists may be able to find the money to do that work or transfer that money to that work. It should fix the immediate problems and put off any rebuild for 10 years or more, but we're not going to know anything till we receive the bid. But I did talk to the lobbyist this morning, and she told me that it looks like we are going to get that money in the capital budget.
Great.
Good. That's good news.
Facebook scam. Somebody was advertising a shipping container for sale on Facebook and said it was located at the Port of Allyn. We were alerted to this when we got a call from a prospective buyer who wanted to know why we had a policy that wouldn't allow people to come on our property and inspect the container until it had been paid for. I assured the person there was no shipping container here and that it was most likely a scam. I then alerted Facebook and they immediately removed the ad, like within minutes. Also posted it was a scam on our Facebook page. Security camera issues. On the advice of our attorney, we filed in Kitsap County Small Claims Court in December against the vendor for the security cameras, the Nerd Squad, and against owner David Show personally. And we asked for the maximum $10,000 we should have been allowed. That covers $7,271.86 difference between the $18,974.07 we advanced for the purchase of the equipment and what was actually installed according to the bid, plus the portion of what it cost us in attorney's fees trying to force Mr. Shope to the table to resolve this. We went to trial on March 1st. Our claim was denied because the judge ruled that entities like ports can only file claims for no more than $5,000, while individuals can file up to $10,000. Our attorney researched this and found the judge's ruling to be wrong. State statute governing district court jurisdiction conflicts with the guidance on Kitsap County's website, stating that only persons can bring actions up to $10,000. We're a municipal corporation, which is exempt from that $5,000 limitation. So we can move for reconsideration and refile the claim, but we would need an attorney to do so. Cost of doing that would be about $5,000 with no guarantee we could win. Our other options are to file in district court for the original $72,71.86, plus everything we've spent on the attorney trying to get him to the table to settle, plus attorney's fees for the new action. Again, there's no guarantee we'd prevail. Or we can just go back to small claims court, refile for $5,000 and absorb the loss of the difference, which, considering that way, while we'd most likely prevail, there's no guarantee we'd get paid. In my view, that's our best shot at any kind of recovery for the money we've spent. So if you all agree, I'll go file that tomorrow. So. Sign update. There's no update on this considering the weather. No one's had time to work on it, but spring's right around the corner. Hopefully we'll get a break in the weather and do it. Kayak Park. We've had several communications with RCO about surplusing the kayak park since our original January 23rd Teams meeting where we inquired about our option. What it boils down to is we have to create another park of equal or greater value at our own expense to replace the kayak park, and that park must also have water access before we can surplus it. I sent an email to RCO Friday. I had an idea. I said, you know, if we put this thing together with Jeff and buy those 8 lots in his well, can we create a park on those 8 lots? And for waterfront, can we put a man-made lake in there? Would that count? And I got an email this afternoon saying, let's look into that. So
Would it be more expensive to put a man-made lake in it?
I don't know.
Okay.
But, you know, it's just throwing mud at the wall here.
Okay.
Old business. Oyster House. We've thrown a major curveball on this project. Problem is our Army Corps permit may have been invalid and a new one required. This would mean beginning the entire process all over again and complying with new regulations and new mitigation rules put in place since the original permit was approved. While our current engineer consultant hasn't been able to track down all the details surrounding this yet, long story short, it appears our former consultant on this project neglected to respond to something from the Army Corps that he was sent in 2017, and they canceled the permit after not getting any response. Judy and I met with the engineer on January 27th, and we asked him to write us a synopsis of the situation and what our options are going forward. I included those in your meeting packet last month. There's one option it may work, but we need to have the North Bay Historical Society buy off on it. The main problem has been one of timing for connecting with them to explore the possible outcomes. Meanwhile, our engineer is still researching additional options, and we may be able to pull a rabbit out of the hat, but it's still too soon to tell. I'll keep you updated. Sweetwater Park. On tonight's agenda is a proposal to create a disc golf course on Sweetwater Park property. Myself and Mindy Harlow from the Salmon Center, which does own a portion of the proposed site, met with Barry Fisher last week, and Mindy is on board with this as well. I included some information in your meeting packets on the local economic development impact such a facility would create. Some of this is similar to the type of positive economic impact information I supplied to you all several years ago about the destination sports complex we have in our comp plan. We would not have to do anything except allow access to the property, as the proponents would build the entire course and take it apart if and when we're ready to develop the property. The main issue I see is the liability situation with the danger trees the arborists marked. This is something we should discuss with the proponents, as in our meeting last week, Mr. Fisher had some ideas on that we may want to explore. In the meantime, the entire property will remain closed to the public until the tree situation is completely resolved. Trail cameras continue to be monitored. Kitsap All Ports meeting, next meeting set for April 24th. And that's my report.
Okay, excellent.
I'm happy to answer any questions.
Back to the security camera issue.
Yeah.
I don't know if it'd be worth it or not.
Well, to file against them, I forget what the filing fee was. I think it was about $50.
Mm-hmm.
And then pay the sheriff $91 to serve it. But if the $91 is the maximum it could cost. When they went out last time, we got like $60 of it back.
Okay.
So, you know, long story short, I think it's about $100 to do it.
Okay.
So, you know, I just don't see that we should let this guy off the hook for $7,000 that he's basically trying to defraud the taxpayers out of, and do so in a not very ingenious manner.
Well, we definitely don't need to lawyer up on that and just take the hit for the difference and being at 5,000 and judging or I mean, just refiling and represent ourselves.
Yeah, I'm good with that. How about you, Ted?
I'm very good with that, yep.
Okay, well then I'll file it tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, anything else? Do you have any other questions for Larry? John? No?
No, thank you.
Okay. Next, new business items. Pat McCullough, you're on.
Hey, I kind of moved up to the front table.
I saw that. That's great. And you'll be next, Barry.
You're somebody now.
So, I feel more important.
So Pat is here to explain about this Lower Hood Canal Discovery Trail. It's been on the radar for many years, and hopefully it can keep traction, get some traction.
Okay,
All right, Pat.
I'm gonna do old-fashioned presentation tonight. which
Okay.
Doesn't fit your standards, but just the way
That's
it
okay.
is. I wasn't sure what you had here. I've got it on a thumb drive. So let's start by talking about how this whole thing got started. The Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group, Mindy, and Peterson came to me in 2017. Said, hey, we want to do a trail. Could you help us? And I said, well, okay, where do you want to put a trail? Well, we want to go all the way to Allyn. I said, okay. So anyway, I had some time, and so I started working on it. And I actually spent quite a bit of time on it. And I got pretty excited about the trail from Belfair State Park to Thel. Now, I do a lot of work on the Olympic Discovery Trail down at Swim. Mm-hmm. And I just spent all summer down there. We just built a whole new section of it, bridge actually. And I just could not believe how positive everybody was and how much they loved that trail. They just absolutely love it. And, you know, a lot of old folks come out there to walk with their dogs, you know, all this kind of stuff. And I worked on several sections of that trail, and trails are, I would estimate that first year, and I'm just guessing, but in Belfair, I would guess, and I'll get into the trail in a minute here, I would guess if we started with a trail, or got this trail built, that we'd be looking at least 250,000 visitors a year on this trail. If you multiply that kind, conservatively speaking, a couple $100, you can see that would be a substantial economic benefit for the town of Belfair. So at any rate, everybody I've talked to over the last 5 years, except the county, really likes the idea, okay? And I've built part of it, the one Belfair State Park, and I went through Klingle Wetlands. We built that. And I walked the rest of it. And I have a tremendous amount of information from doing the Union River Restoration Project, the Beard Cove Restoration, the Klingle's Wetland Restoration, and the restoration of the park. So it turned out I had quite a bit of engineering information in those areas and was able to put together a set of plans. So what I decided to do tonight was bring up a set of plans for you to study on your own and let you take a look at them and see if this was something you're interested in doing. When Ted called, he mentioned the fact that he thought there was quite a bit of grant money out there to do something like this. And I agree. We just finished a $37 million RAISE grant for our coal seam restoration project. A lot of work, I tell you, a lot of work. We came back with that RAISE grant down there. We estimated we had a 22-to-1 benefit to cost ratio for that project at $37 million. I mean, there is tremendous benefits from doing these kind of projects. The second thing that you should know is that most of my clients that I work for, which are really pretty high-end clients, make money on these grants. In your estimate here that I put in the back of these plans I'm going to later, I would guess a project of $8.5 million on the bottom side, no problem, $500,000 administrative fees. And tribes, a lot of time when I work for them, they go 20 to 50%. I mean, we're talking big bucks. For my 2 projects for the tribe down in Squim, they came out of that, after all expenses, with $1 million of administrative funds. So, you know, most of the nonprofit agencies that I work for literally survive on those funds. So, I mean, this is not a negative cash deal if you get into it and do it right. Now, I wouldn't advocate that's the reason you do it, but I'm just telling you that's the case. So let's talk a little bit about the dream. It's a pretty big dream. If you look at the second page, now first of all, I came up with the title, Lower Hood Canal Discovery Trail. Okay, so you can call it anything you want. Port of Allyn Discovery Trail, I don't care. But I mean, I just thought it was pretty sexy name, Port of Allyn, you know, the Discovery Trail. And it really would be a discovery. Having said that I walked it, it's it's a wonderful walk. And if anybody's driven down SR 300,
Get people off of that, actually. Do you want to go ahead and?
Can you,
sure, we got this.
can you speak directly to the phone? I can hear you barely. I can hear you, but it's really difficult.
Closer to the camera.
Speak louder.
Not the microphone, the camera.
All right.
That thing has nothing to do with.
Yeah, talk into that laptop right there.
There you go. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, talk into that laptop. Just point, when you're talking, talk to the
Oh,
laptop.
Talk into the laptop, okay.
Yeah.
The dream that Peterson and Mindy came to me with was the second page, okay,
Which is that?
where we go all the way down to Theller Wetlands, then we go uptown, we go up either Sweetwater Creek Trail, or we go up through Krieger's property. And by the way, Krieger's
She's
a
still
supporter.
on board with
Oh,
it?
yeah. He's all in. And then you go across the new bypass, and you go all the way over to Allyn to Dyes Inlet. Now, obviously, I've broken this project down into 3 phases. First phase, the one I'm excited about, is the phase from Belfry State Park to
Sell it.
to the Tiller Center. That would be, phase 1 would be, I'll speak louder, would be 4.23 miles, okay? And it struck me when I was working on this that, boy, if you wanted a 5K, a 10K, marathon, you know, this would just be perfect, you know, just be beautiful, because you could run around the Tiller Center twice, whatever, you know.
No big hills either.
Yeah, flat.
Yeah.
Yeah, plus incredible scenery the whole way, it's just gorgeous. Okay, so that's kind of the vision, and I brought you plans so you can study this later. The next sheet shows property ownerships, and most of it is WDFW and county. Then we've got, and GPC owns a Greater Peninsula Conservancy owns part of it. They were a strong supporter. The parks people, I forgot his name right now. But anyway, park people are really excited. So most of the property owners I talked to Doris Small at WDFW when I was working on this. I don't even know if she still works there, but anyway.
She retired.
Did she?
Yeah, I thought she might. We'd have to obviously talk to WDFW. This is, a big part of this would go through their, quote, wetland complex, and that's a big deal. So at any rate, but most of it, the only parcel that I thought might be an issue would be Beards Cove. And got a lot of owners there, and trying to get them to sign off on any kind of a trail through Beards Cove would be a really tough show. So we went along, that's one of the sections we went along the edge of the state highway. And there's another small section down in front of the red barn where you'd have to be on the state highway.
Yeah.
But if you go on the next page, you start getting into the nuts and bolts of the layout. A little bigger scale, a little easier to see of where that trail would go. Now, keep in mind that
No, it's hard.
keep in mind that this is a conceptual design based on, by me, who knows quite a bit about the site, but obviously there's a whole other phase to this to get it tied down. A good part of it goes along Gladwin Road, which is a simple county widening situation. Put drainage pipe in the ditches, build a trail over the top. And there's hardly any traffic at all on Gladwin Road. But we'd have to talk to the community about that too, if you go ahead with some kind of project. So at any rate, so that takes you down to the park. And I put some sections in there, you could see how the widened Gladwin Road. And it's doable. There's some pictures. We wind up with, at least a 5-foot wide walkway on one side. It'd be nice if it was wider, but maybe we could do that. It'd be nice if it was 10 feet, or at least 8 feet. And then I show some examples of I think about 1,600 feet would have to be on boardwalks or concrete walkways of some kind to get above the wetlands. And that's done all the time, everywhere. So these are pictures of, then getting across the river gets kind of fun. We just got done building another 500-600 feet of bridge across the Dungeness down at Squim. But on sheet 10, I show a 566-foot long bridge across the Union River. Okay?
Yep.
And that is included in the cost estimate. Then on the final page, I show a cost estimate of $8.584 million. And in that cost estimate, I've got a 20% contingency of over $1 million. So that's the project. Now, I don't want to take a long time now. If you, as the Port of Allyn, decide to proceed, what I would suggest is that you put out a RFP, which you have to do anyway,
Right.
and request that people who are interested in a project like this give you a statement of qualifications. From the statement of qualifications, pick 3 firms to present proposals. You don't have to interview, but you should have proposals. But you like probably to interview too, so you get to know. In terms of my involvement, I would probably put together a team that I've already worked with, and come in and pitch it. Song and dance, we're a really cool outfit. And, but that would be your next step. And I would suggest budget-wise, and this is just flat out guess, okay, that you put 50 grand in your budget somewhere to do the first phase, which would be grant applications. And you can probably get that money back. I'm not sure how, but you can. Sometimes they'll actually count those costs later on. Some of them, a lot of government agencies won't, but RCO does it once in a while. And right now, the RAISE grant folks money is coming through the federal process to fund these kind of projects. You're a rural community, so you don't have to have any match for the RAISE grant.
Wow.
And, but it's a lot of work, let me tell you. We just put one together, and boy, I'll tell you, we had all the information. It was still a lot of work. It's really complicated. They have 8 evaluation criteria.
Wow.
Every evaluation criteria is reviewed by a separate person, a group. So you have to, every evaluation criteria, you have to start at the beginning, tell them the whole story before you get down to their evaluation criteria. So it takes a lot of writing. So it's a lot of work. But at any rate, that would be my suggestion if you want to proceed. We obviously know that if you walk down SR 300, you take your life in your hands.
Dangerous. Yep.
I mean, it is horrible. And yeah, my granddaughter was going to work, and she caught the edge of the overlay,
Yep.
flipped her car over 3 times, landed in the wetlands there besides Beards Cove. She wasn't injured. There wasn't a panel on the car that didn't have a dent on it, but none of the glass or any of that was broken. So actually, they're still using the car now. They pulled it out. So that'd be my suggestion, okay? And if you want to go with the project, I'll be happy to send Leanne over a draft, example for an RFP, so she can do that. And you put it in the Seattle paper, and God help you, there'll be consultants coming out everywhere.
Okay.
You'll be the most popular place in Mason County. Any questions?
Real quick, Pat, is there any way that when we divert traffic off of 300, that we could divert part of the path into Belfair? I'm thinking of the landscape. You know what I'm talking about? If people were to want to get off because once you go over that Union Bridge, you're right, it's a horrible situation.
Yeah.
But if we were to divert traffic, if somebody wanted to ride their bike into Belfair, divert traffic off to 300, maybe cross over the Union River and then go into Belfair,
Sure.
like behind QSC where most of the shoppers would go. I know there's a path behind the old school and you get up there, but,
For Belfair Street,
No, I would think,
even?
you know, first of all, there's several alternatives here. I mean, you could go across the bridge, go to Theller, which most people would do,
Mhm.
but extend the trail down to Belfair. You have to put that ditch that everybody almost falls into.
Mhm.
You have to put pipe in there and drain it, you know, but sure. I think that's where most of their sewage used to go in the old days. What's the sewer system in? But it'd be nice to extend the bikeway down to Belfair directly. And yeah, you could do that, sure.
And I'd like to say that the reason why I called Mr. McCullough a couple weeks, a month ago, is that I'd been asked about this project numerous times, and I was against it because I was afraid that law enforcement or firefighters couldn't get up there. But just so happened that I talked to a couple of police chiefs and fire chiefs who told me that there's new ways to
Access.
protect people. So, and they've had to do some things on their trail systems that have changed over the years. So I got excited about the project, and then I got contacted by some people that would like to ride bikes, run, walk, do whatever. So,
Well, yeah, we could put security, now, we could put security cameras all along this thing. You know, I mean, that kind of thing. And you could, I think, put telephone, you know, there's all kinds of electronic.
there is.
Yeah.
So,
So it would change Belfair.
Would be great.
It
I've
would
been,
change Belfair.
love this project for a long time. 'Cause
Yeah.
to get people off of Highway 300,
Oh,
are the
yeah.
other options, because, you know, we've had people die,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
It's
they're-
in our comp plan as well, this
Mhm.
project is.
And it's in the county complaint.
Yeah,
there's one other question I have. PNSS or PNS, the naval,
Yeah,
Right.
PSNS.
do we go underneath or over or go right through?
I think there is an access, over the railroad, I think there
Yeah.
is an access, one access for the trail to go over. It would be on Krieger's property. That's where you're talking about,
Yes, I
on
was,
Krieger's property.
Oh, yeah, okay, you're talking about,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about.
No,
The rail
he's talking
system,
about
yeah.
Krieger's
Oh,
property.
I'm telling you. Those guys, I'm in public here.
Yeah, you're in public, so and it's recorded, so be careful.
You actually have to go to the Secretary of the Navy
Mhm. I know.
to
yeah,
sign off to get across that railroad track.
Right.
Yeah.
And it'd take a lot of political horsepower to get that done. It
So-
can be done.
Well, I was thinking to make this a quality trail, like for cross-country runners from our high school, or we help regional match, or regional meets out here. You know, I just look at that railroad crossing as something that may hinder.
No, it can be done, it's been done.
Yeah,
They did
it has been
They
done.
did it for the sewer, and we're actually gonna be doing it at Lakeland Village here now.
Oh,
probably in a
really?
year or so. They just cut their property right in half. Now you gotta go ask permission to get to the other
Right.
half. It's really goofy. But at any rate, so that's what I would suggest. You start with the RFP. You need to put some money aside to get started. I mean, I'm happy to contribute some $30,000 worth of engineering I've got in this thing
I
already.
see that, thank you.
That's okay. And, you know, it'll get you started, but you need to get some money set aside to do the grant applications and use this as the basis for your application. And if you get RCO to, you know, for 50 grand, RCO, no problem. I don't think I have a problem getting it. Okay.
Would you want to take any questions from the audience, or no?
Well, if you want me to, I will.
Any questions?
Sure.
Barry?
Yeah, Barry Betzinger, I live in Allyn here.
Talk loud so he can hear you.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's Barry from Allyn here, and just a quick question, because I've heard about these trails and things before. Does any part of the trail that you have on paper here, is that part of the indigenous people's trail that I keep hearing about that goes over from the end of the bay here, Coda Creek area, over into Belfair? Because if it was part of that historic trail, then I would really think that the indigenous people would be more than willing to put in some money in this and to see that developed again with the history, with their history.
You know, that's a good question. And as near as I can tell from, Krieger had a map of this indigenous trail. I think you're driving on it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But we need more research, but the drawing I saw goes right where the road is.
Okay.
So, I mean, they didn't want to go straight up the hill. I took the valley too,
The original road.
Yeah.
I think we're driving on it. But,
Okay.
I mean, it's good. I'd use it in the grant. Build them another one. Because going up the hill from Sweetwater Creek is nasty.
Very steep.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Yeah, it gets you in shape doing that.
Okay, thank you, Pat.
Thank you.
Oh, Barry, you have a question?
I do. I'm another Barry from Allyn. And my question, looking at the map, I get excited because not only do we get the trail, but there's a lot of other property around there. And I have other ulterior motives for that.
Okay.
In Shelton, there is the trail across from the high school, I can't remember the name of the trail, for the people to walk around. It's across the street from the high school. It's out there in that park out there.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it.
I
Do you,
don't either.
Ted?
I've been on it.
No?
It'll come to me as soon as the meeting's over.
Yeah, it's mixed with something to do with older people, maybe that's why I don't associate with it. But they have a tremendous disc golf course there. And that's why I'm here tonight, to talk about disc golf. And it's not, I can just drift right into my presentation.
Sure.
And because it's regarding the Water Wheel Park, personally, I don't care whether it's the Water Wheel Park or some other place. I have talked with several people in the area for many years about doing this for the kids in the area, for adults in the area, for families. I taught grade school, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. I had a course in my PE section that was discology, where I taught the kids about how to play different disc sports.
Excuse me.
Barry, could I have you go up to the podium and,
Yeah, and Ken has his hand up on Zoom here.
Oh,
He may
okay.
have
I'm
a
sorry,
question
Ken.
for
is this
Pat.
is this for Pat McCullough? Ken? Did he just put it up?
Yes, it was a question for Pat.
Okay.
Hi, Ken.
I'm sorry, Barry.
Pat, do you think that the bridge you described that's going to go over the Union River, is that going to require permitting from the Army Corps?
Oh, yeah, there'll be all kinds of 404
Okay.
permits. Well, the bridge,
Okay.
the bridge won't, but the trail, the whole project will have to be, have to go through the 404 process.
I couldn't hear you very well, but I guess you said that.
The answer is yes.
Permits.
Yeah, no, the major challenge of this project, building the trail will be easy.
Right.
Permitting it is going to be really interesting. And
are you concerned about, or have you built into the plan the effect of the climate change and the king tides?
well, I had in 2017, it's just a matter of raising it another half foot. We had a 15.5-foot tide, and we had 2 feet of it. 2 feet of that tide increase was the low pressure. And I did a 100-year floodplain. I live on the beach, you know, I have a home on the beach. And I had a map of where the extreme high tide would be on my property. I mean, I could have gone out and staked it. It was right there, 15 and a half feet. We had a whopper. We really did, yeah.
Okay. My only other comment was, I heard the discussion about the Indigenous Peoples Trail. That was called the Portage Trail, and it actually went from the tip of the canal there up over by Lake Devereaux, and it used to be the Kitsap County line. So I know there's maps of where that trail is. I think Bonnie Knight, I came to the Port of Allyn a number of years ago, and we talked about that, so it's in the record.
Yeah, I don't have a map of exactly where it was. It just seemed to me that it went right about where the road was, which made sense. You know. Whatever, you could, whatever. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Ken, anything else? No? Okay.
Hey, Ken,
No.
got a question for him.
Okay.
Would you support us?
Support what?
The project?
The trail?
Yeah.
Yeah, parts of it. I'm all about providing access along that route for runners and bikers. But I'm not real certain where the trail should go once it leaves the water. I really don't think it should go up Sweetwater. It's too steep.
No, I'm talking
Mr.
about.
Krieger knows that. I've given them, I walked it with him.
I'm talking about from the park to Bellard.
I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, that's okay.
Okay.
Ken's always
Thank-
against everything.
Thank you, Pat.
You bet.
Okay. Barry? Barry Fisher, thank you very much for being patient. I thank you. And thank you, Pat.
Thank you, Pat.
Can we keep these, right?
You keep it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a lot of information on it, so
Yeah, we'll take a look.
if you're in the bean count, you'll like it. Be aware.
Thank you.
I will back up a little bit.
Okay.
Barry Fisher, Allyn. I am a past teacher, principal. I taught 6th, 7th, and 8th grade for many years. I was principal and athletic director of a couple different schools. I've been teaching disc sports since about 1974. I've been playing since 1974. I pretty much involved. I've played in 3 different world championships. I've played in the U.S. Masters Championships. I'm doing it again this year. They have age divisions, which allows me to participate with people that are older. But getting kids involved, it's something that young kids do from 8, 9 years old, 4 years old. I've watched 4-year and 5-year-old kids out on the course playing with their parents and out with their grandparents because I've taken mine out. And it's amazing that many of those kids that were in my classroom back in the 1980s are still playing today, and they find me on Facebook and talk about it. But there's not much in this area, North Mason. I live down off the river, Sherwood Creek, and it's approximately 18 miles to the Shelton course and approximately 18 miles to NAD in Bremerton. I go to NAD 3 or 4 times a week. I happen to have 9 acres. I happen to have 16 holes and baskets on my own property, so I get to play at home. But we do things with schools at South Kitsap. We do things with schools in Bremerton. I've done some things with some private schools, both in Port Orchard and Bremerton. They have a day for schools there. They have schools down in the Shelton area where they also participate with the kids. There's just not much for the kids to do here in North Mason. I've gotten adults interested out here, but it's hard to get the kids someplace to play. I've looked at different pieces of property, and that's all we need is a piece of property. It doesn't take a lot of money to do it. At one point I had the gentleman, can't think of his name, that owns property behind Rite Aid and all that property will back up along in there.
Don Katie?
Yes, Katie. And we talked at one point, and he was kind of leaning, but then he was talking about selling the property. So he backed off. And we find property. We had a big piece of property in Bremerton that was, of course, supposed to have been for like 6 years because it might be sold. But it took about 18 years, and we had that course for 18 years. And it was listed as the #1 in the state up until it just closed last year. Shelton, there's going to be a huge tournament, national tournament there this year. I will not be involved in that one because I'm involved in a national tournament down in Oregon for someone who's older. But in this area, there's just needing some property to find something. And when I heard about Water Wheel Park, I went over there and I walked it. It would make a nice small course and be right next to the school. I thought, wow, this is fantastic. I could start teaching it to the kids over here and they could walk through. If there's more property, and I walked back to see what's back behind it and beside it. And there is other property that if we could connect with owners to build something there. I contacted a couple dentists in Belfair and asked them if they would like to sponsor a hole. $1,000 would give me a tee-off and a sign, and they would get a sign there for that. I had 5 different businesses that were willing to give me $1,000 to set up a course. And that was back when I was talking with Katie. But I really want to see something for the kids here. And there is lots of property, and looking at this map here with the trails, there's going through pieces of property. Out by the high school, I've walked around up there. Any place like that that we can find a piece of property to put it in. The Water Wheel Park would make a nice small course, and if we could extend it to the one piece of property behind it and maybe get into somebody on the side, we could put in a better course. But then you can get the junior high involved and have a high school team. There are national championships for colleges and high schools now at disc golf. There have been young men. There was just a young man signed a contract with this company that I represent. I got surprised picked up when I was 78 years old to be represented for disc golf, but there was a young man that was picked up. They paid him $10 million. So there's money being made by young men doing this, and it's just finding a piece of property.
Tell me about your organization that would like to build a course there.
There are 2 courses. There's 2 organizations. There is the West Sound Disc Golf Club, and there is the Mason County Disc Golf Club. I would be more working with the Mason County Disc Golf Club, who has a very involved person who lives on Greatview Loop Road. They were down putting in new tee-offs and so forth down at the sign. But they do maintenance on courses. We just put in a bunch of gravel down there around tee-off signs, new tee-offs that are down on the Shelton course. They also will go in and cut brush just to set up the fairways and so forth. But we do maintenance on the courses. If you went down to Nad Park, you would see plastic pieces on the ground, trail things that have been set through where there was a lot of mud. Now there's pieces of plastic to go along. People bring in wood chips and make trails. If a tree goes down, they don't want us bringing in chainsaws, but it's amazing how overnight some guy's out there with a regular saw and cutting it up into pieces and moving it off the side, making a pad, making benches, installing benches with the logs and so forth. So it's the Mason County Disc Golf Club.
Okay.
They get out and they do it.
Okay.
The young and the old.
All right.
So that's really what it's all about. I did this up just for you to take a look at something, and that's why.
Oh, I've already got this.
You got
Yeah,
that one?
I got one
This-
too.
Yes, I did. I did
sent-
receive it.
I
Yep.
scanned what you gave me
I don't
and
remember if
sent
I
it.
gave this one or not.
Yeah, and I
Why
sent
is
that a
disc
different
golf
one?
in your recreation program?
Yep, we have that one. Well, I do. Ted, do you
No,
have it?
Yeah.
everybody
Okay.
got it.
Got
I'll
that?
just take a hard copy.
Okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
we got that.
Okay, I knew you had that one.
Yeah.
Okay. And they bring in and they put up, we have signs that we put up over the course for people to be aware, because there's always people walking trails and so forth. And they also pick up the dog, and also that they run off homeless encampments. There's a course in Bremerton where they've just contacted the West Sound Disc Golf Club that they're having trouble in a park with homeless. They want to install a disc golf course, because they put in a disc golf course, you get disc golfers going in and it runs out the homeless.
It's being used
Yeah.
for a good cause.
Yeah.
That's great.
And Barry, you know this, the Shelton course gets used quite a bit,
Quite a bit.
quite a bit.
Yeah.
So you usually see a line of cars parked in the middle of the day from the high school.
It's the
down
same
below.
way at NAD, it's the same way at fairgrounds.
The same way at Fort Steilacoom. So.
2 years ago, I took a trip and I hit 57 courses from here to Georgia. I've participated in the World Championships up in Vermont. 2 years ago, it was the World Championships were in Tennessee. I was there. There's 4 courses that are involved. It brings in a lot of people and a lot of money. But the kids, they're all ages. They're all ages.
Yeah.
The lady down here, she won the World Championships last year in the 50-year-old division. I've only gotten second, I couldn't get first.
I know at least a dozen people that actively play disc golf.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah,
I mean,
Bryce
it's-
plays
It's
disc
not it's not something small. I mean, I think they even have retail stores to sell the.
There's a
So, yeah.
360 disc golf
Yep.
in Bremerton. There's
Yep.
3 stores over in the other side, Seattle area. That's what I do, is I go around and I stop in the stores and represent, because I represent a company now.
John, do you have any questions? Commissioner Sheridan, do you have questions?
Yeah, thank you. I can see the advantage of it, but at the same time, a lot of infrastructure. I mean, it sounds like it brings in quite a bit of people, quite a bit of competition. But one thing would have to be seriously considered is putting those cars out there where it's right there where that park is. That's the place he wants to do it, right? So anyway, just some consideration there.
It's inexpensive to put up and provides a lot of activity.
Yeah.
It's just a great thing.
Ted, did you have questions?
No,
or
I can't
comments?
thank you enough.
Yeah.
You bet.
I don't know if we're going to make a decision tonight. Do you want to think about it, gentlemen, or what would you like?
I would say I'd like to think about it a little bit more.
Okay, so we're going to table on decision, but we do need to explore this.
Oh, yeah.
I personally think it'd be a great idea. That's just me.
Yeah.
I see.
Ken has the
I would,
same-
I would definitely want to explore more of the details behind it, the infrastructure is being involved. So, I mean, you know, I'm in no position to make a decision on that right now, for sure.
Okay. I see Ken has a question. Ken?
Ken?
Yes, I do, Judy, thank you. I was curious, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Coppola mentioned that you have some ideas on how to mitigate those hazard trees. Is that true?
There are individuals that come in and take down trees. We don't mind trees. We play around them. That helps give us shots. But trees that have to come down, there are people that are willing to come in and do that.
Yeah. Have you walked that property?
I have. Just,
And you think
I
you
walked
could-
it one time, looked at some things and looked at, trying to just see where you'd put a small course there, how big a course I'd be able to put in. If I think about the grade school, it'd be a lot smaller than other, but if I could get the other properties and other people mixed into it. My goal for the area was to find a piece of property that I could do a course, and I wanted to put in a 27-hole course with 9 holes being basically a par 3, kind of beginner, call it the Bulldog 9, get the high school involved, blue and white baskets, targets, and then the other portion of the course having more than one tee off where you have, I play tournaments where I do not play the same tee off as the young professionals play. The ladies play a different tee off. and then they have tee-offs for smaller kids, they have easier tee-offs. So you said it 2 or 3. Shelton course has 3 tee-offs for each hole. They just started,
Right.
they just did the other one.
Well, I think it's a great idea, but just not at that particular location, and I think it would tie in greatly with the port's scheme for part of their comprehensive plan for a sports facility, and if we could find a large enough property that could provide that sort of thing. They could even put in the new thing that's going around now with the not racquetball, but the outdoor
Pickleball.
Pickleball.
pickleball. Yeah, and that's
I can tell you pickleball courts, one pickleball court will cost about as much as a disc golf course.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. If we could all merge it all together, that'd be fantastic, and I think that would be a
Cost-wise,
an idea
disc
to
golf
bump
is
in
much
with
less
the-
expensive.
Right, but it would be something that merged in the perimeter of a sports facility where there's ample parking and that sort of stuff. So, you know, I appreciate your thoughts. I've seen the courses down there in Shelton. I don't think there's just enough acreage there at Sweetwater to do much with.
That would be a small 9-hole type course unless there's more property around it. But yes, that's what I was looking at, just something to get the kids involved and have something for them. It's right there next to the school. It's a great place.
Okay,
That was my only question. Thanks.
thank you. Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
We had one more agenda item.
We do, oh, appointment for Commissioner Jackson to be on the Rural Broadband Task Force. Yes, thank you. I did read the email from, what was his name again?
Dan Tudenberg.
Yes.
And I did attend the first meeting today. It was very informational, and there may be another one tomorrow. I'm doing this both as the United Way Director and the Port of Allyn, so nothing's going to be charged to the Port of Allyn. I will not submit doing this, but I will provide both commissioners with all the information. And what they're trying to do is expand our broadband and internet services to our most outlying areas of Mason County. So it's very informational. Even the meeting we had today, there's PUD 3. I recommended they invite the Port of Duwato, who's our most outlying, and Port of Hoodsport. So it's very informational, but I'll make sure I include all the other 2 commissioners in whatever we discuss. So on the 13th of March, they're going to have a large informational meeting, and I'll make sure I provide that information to the executive director. So if either commissioner wants to attend, I'll be out of town, but I'll try to attend by Zoom. It's just trying to get information or internet access to our folks that are outside the area. So I was very happy from what I heard today. There's a lot of people that have some much more knowledge on that stuff than I do, but I think I'm happy that they invited the Port of Allyn and like I said, United Way, which our primary goal is to improve education. So
Great.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Jackson. I'm totally supportive of that. That's much appreciated that you're wanting to take that role on, and represent us well, which I know you will.
thank you.
Do you need a motion to approve?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion, John, to approve?
I'll make a motion that Commissioner Jackson move forward as the role of the Rural Broadband Task Force.
Okay, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, there you go.
Thank you.
Ted, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, very neat.
Thank you. I missed that. So, thank you, Larry. Anything for the good of the order? I think we've lost everybody. They left.
Yeah. Well, I just want to thank you for, I wasn't sure I was going to make it. I had a situation that I had to that was priority, and I dealt with it, and I was able to make it. So I appreciate the patience, me coming in late a few minutes.
You're here. That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Nothing else?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, so moved. All in favor?
I'll second it. Aye.
Oh, thank you, aye. Thank you, everybody.